Inspiration and insight can come from some really unexpected places. A few weeks ago, I was at my local barber shop, one of my very favorite places to be. And in the back, they have a refrigerator filled with magnets and bumper stickers. And one of the bumper stickers caught my eye. Honestly, I don't even remember what the company was for, but it said this: don't criticize what you don't understand. I left there thinking, what would happen if I actually adopted that statement? What if, before I criticized something, I actually looked into it to try and understand it before I cast judgment on it? Now, this is important because, truth be told, I can, from time to time, occasionally, you know, here and there, be a little bit critical or even judgmental of others. Whoa, 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 whoa. Before you boo me for that very natural human reaction, remember that it is a very natural human reaction. We all use criticism and judgment as a self-defense mechanism. Don't believe me? Next time you're driving, see how often you criticize other drivers. Not just for their driving style, but also what they're doing, what they're not doing, and how they are not driving as perfectly as you.
It's Brittany, bitch.
And I know that, like you, I've been on the receiving end of snap judgments and criticism. Somebody walks in and just sees a very, very small sliver of my life and immediately begins to tell me what is wrong with it. Now, you notice how this can really break down a relationship, both personal and professional, very, very fast? Criticism is oftentimes the source of most miscommunication. And it's not about giving or receiving feedback. It is about casting judgment on something just for seeing a small portion of it. And this leads us to empathy, the key ingredient in communication. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first, let's define what empathy is. Empathy is formed from the Greek prefix em, which means in, and pathos, one of my favorite words because it relates to rhetoric and persuasion, which means emotion, feeling, or even sorrow. So the etymology of the word, the basis of the word empathy, is literally to feel into others. It is to understand how somebody else is feeling, but not just understand it with your head, but also understand it with your heart, understanding and connecting the feelings that somebody else might be going through. It's stepping into their shoes and seeing something from their perspective. Now, that's a really nice Instagram post, isn't it? Be empathetic. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. That's such a great little quip. It deserves a double tap, a like, even a reshare on your social media. And yet, how often do we quickly rise to criticism? How often do we make snap judgments without really getting all of the information at hand? To understand the impact of this, let's talk about empathy in communication theory. Markova and Legerstee address this in their book, The Handbook of Jealousy. They state that when we have empathy in our communication, we can literally understand what the other person is not just feeling, but also what they are saying. It allows us to connect on a deeper layer of communication. Empathy can reduce the criticisms, those snap judgments that we make that really impede both trust and the message that we're trying to communicate. Overall, it fosters a more creative, more open, more vulnerable, compassionate place for communication to exist. Really nice on an Instagram post, really great on a LinkedIn post, but to put it in practice is much more of a struggle. So how do we do this? We know that empathy is a key ingredient, not just to communication, but also to relationships, but yet we still make those snap judgments. So how can we build and develop empathy for our communication as well as our personal life? So let's dive into this concept of don't criticize what you don't understand. Now, there's 3 tools that I want to give you, 3 questions that you can ask yourself when you feel that surge of judgment, that surge of criticism towards somebody else, whether it's their appearance, their actions, their background, whatever the case may be. The first question to ask when you are bestowing judgment or criticism on someone is, why is this bothering me? Sometimes I'll see something on social media or I'll see someone out on the streets and I'll make a judgment of them. I will work to cut them down. And the reason for that is it's not anything to do with them. It has to do 100% with me. See, our brain has this really tricky trap door that when we see something, when we see someone doing something that we feel like we deserve, we find our best way to discredit them. In other words, we cast judgment and we become angry because they have something that we don't have. Now, wait a minute, Eric. That doesn't make any sense. The person that I judged the other day, well, I judged them for their appearance and their behavior. They dressed and talked in a certain way that I would never, ever dream of doing. I hear you. And you're probably right. You probably don't want to dress like them or talk like them or act like them. But there's something a little bit underneath. Maybe it's the fact that they are living completely authentically. Maybe it's the fact that they are comfortable in their own skin. Maybe it's the fact that they have freedom to express themselves however they wish. Sometimes we see someone who looks, talks, and acts a little bit differently than us, and we get jealous because we wish that we could break down the barriers, break down the walls, take off the armor that we are using to not just keep people out, but to keep all of our negative emotions in. So consider, what is it about that person? What is it about your judgment that is a reflection of yourself? The second question is, what stories are you making up about them? Now again, wait a minute, Eric. I don't make up stories. Usually I don't even have time to make up stories. I just see someone or something that I don't like and I criticize it. And you're absolutely right. That is 100% your experience. However, our brains tell stories at a rapid fire rate. Usually it's a subconscious feeling that is coming up for us. There's something that we have not addressed. Maybe we're making up the story that this person is a particular way because they're entitled or they're lazy or they're whatever the case may be. Yet remember, we don't always have the full information, especially with strangers, but also with our close coworkers and even our family members. The stories that our brains create in nanoseconds are simply the pieces of information that we have missing from whatever is in front of us. So if we come home and we open the door in the middle of the workday and our spouse is just sitting on the couch doing nothing, the story that could come to our heads is, what is this person doing? They're so lazy. They're irresponsible. I can't believe I'm with them. Now notice, that's your story because you want to be supported in your partnership. And so when you walk in and you see your partner being lazy, A, you wish you could be lazy, and B, you grow resentful because you want them to be working as hard as you are. But what if there was more to the story? What if they were sick? What if they broke their ankle? What if something awful happened to them? When we make snap judges and criticisms, we tend to attack with those judgments and criticisms. So identifying the story and then clarifying the actual story. Hey, honey, are you okay? Is your ankle broken? Did something terrible happen to you? Are you sick? Questions like that to clarify the story before your story takes the reins and takes you down the wrong road. And that leads us to the third question. What information do you need in order to properly criticize and really engage the other person? Here's the rule of thumb. When you see someone doing something that you don't like, and you recognize that it might be a snap judgment, ask at least one clarifying question. Asking that one question is going to do a few things. First, it's going to help you give time to yourself. A lot of our judgments are instinctual, and we don't even know why we do them. When we ask a question, we're actually stalling the emotions and letting our brains process the situation adequately. Number two, you're going to gain trust with the other individual. They're going to see that you're not judging them right away and that you're really empathetic with what they might be feeling. Now, this is all great. This is all useful. This is all really, really important. You have to have empathy in order to be an effective communicator. And I want to be real with you. This is so much easier said than done. Remember that we all carry around old stories, judgments, and experiences, and those influence the way that we interact with one another. So, yes, work to develop empathy towards others, but first and foremost, work to develop empathy within yourself. So often, we want people to understand how we feel, but we don't even understand how we feel. And that's the true magic of empathy. When two people can really connect and understand, appreciate, and even respect where they're coming from, that is where effective communication can really shine. Empathy is the one communication tool that will never fail you. People want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be understood. That is a fundamental need of all of us. And if we can use the secret ingredient of empathy in our day-to-day lives, we're going to find that our connections are deeper and that our communication is significantly more effective. And when we ask those questions, when we pause right after our snap judgments, and we really try to understand before we criticize, we are going to open up a world of communication and partnerships. So, when in doubt, when all of the other communication tools at your disposal are failing, just know empathy will never let you down. As always, make sure that you hit subscribe to stay up to date on all content related to confidence, communication, and storytelling. And until next time, make sure you come off mute and speak up your story. See you soon.